resources, limited time, and limited budgets, a few brave souls forge forward and don't ask for permission to make their stories come to life. Welcome to the Adventures in Backyard Filmmaking podcast. Here is your host, Jamie Francis.
Hello, welcome to the Adventures in Backyard Filmmaking podcast. Now, this is the intro to an interview I had very recently with Joshua Bruce, a very young filmmaker from Red Bank, New Jersey. He's only like 17, lives and breathes for no budget filmmaking, and he loves just stretching the budgets as much as possible. And he just has a great passion for this filmmaking, this style of filmmaking. And it's not super long of an interview, but it's great, and there's some great tips for just beginning filmmakers, and just some sort of advice to, like, if you're struggling to get started and worried about like what people think and what what your peers are like. And I know at a young age it's sometimes peer pressure and stuff can be very effective and kind of sway you in different ways where, but Josh kind of just walks his own way. And it's really refreshing, and really he's got some great advice. And yeah, I just thanks for coming by this podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you are one of the first people to listen to this. And I have this podcast specifically purposely not set up on any of the there's no MP3 available for this podcast if you're listening to this version of it. What I'm doing is setting up a special group. I have it over on Facebook. And if you go to francisbrothersfilms.com, that's www.francisbrothersfilms.com/group, you will be redirected to a Facebook page that is a special secret page. It's not that secret. You can actually just join with no. You do not have to sacrifice a small child, or you do not need to do anything like that. You just sign up to that, and all I ask for sneak peek at all these podcasts. The first, I don't know how many I'm gonna have set up there. Maybe 4 or 5. The first 5, you'll be the first people to watch. You'll be the first people to listen to them or have a chance to listen to them. And all I ask for is when it is officially launched on especially iTunes, that you give it a review, comment on it on the actual iTunes, in the iTunes store. What I'm trying to do is set up a nice little group. If I can get a review or a comment from 50 people right as it launches in the first day or two, I really think there's a chance to get on new and noteworthy on iTunes. And that is my goal with this, especially with the group. And I hope you enjoy this podcast. I've had a little bit of recording issues with this one, but I think it's came out okay still. So that, again, go to www.francisbrothersfilms.com/group, and you'll be redirected to the group. Or you can just go to francisbrothers.com, and there's a way to get it on there. A little bit, it's not as direct, but I really appreciate you guys checking this out. I've got some great feedback from my small group of listeners so far, and I just love doing this, and I really want to bring this on a regular basis. And thanks a lot for everything. I'm actually trying to set up something where if you do leave a review on iTunes in the first day or two when it launches, I want to set up some kind of sweepstakes or some kind of random draw of the people who review the podcast. And maybe I'll review some, and maybe I'll read some of the reviews on this podcast. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's an extra incentive. I will be giving away something. I don't know what it is yet. I'll have to create something. Maybe I'll make you a a special birthday card, specially made by me. It'll be macaroni and glue mostly, but I'll spell out your name in macaroni. I used to do that when I was in kindergarten, so I think I still have the skills to do that. So thanks a lot, and I'll be signing off on this episode too, because I like the sound of my own voice. Thanks a lot, and here is my interview with Joshua Bruce. So we have a special guest here on the Adventures in Backyard Filmmaking podcast. This is a young dude that I've been following for a while online, and he is creating a horror, just a crazy epic horror movie called Burn in Hell, and his name is Joshua D. Bruce. I don't know what the D stands for, but I'm guessing it's like devil or something. Born and raised in good old New Jersey. So just welcome Josh to the show.
Well, it is good to be on, and I could tell you what the D stands for, but most people wouldn't find that very interesting.
It's probably like Dean or something. It's probably something really basic.
Yeah, I kind of want to preserve that mythology for now, because then people will be like, what does D stand for?
Yeah, it's like in Simpsons when Homer J. Simpson, the J just stands for J.
Yeah.
It's just going to stand for D. It's going to be straightforward. It's going to be made up. It's great. It's great having you on here. You are very young, and you're still in school, which is great. It's just great getting started as early as possible. I love your passion towards low budget filmmaking, and just going out there and doing it. I love it. Tell me how you got bit by the bug. Was it something you started doing early, or was it a movie you saw that was like, hey, I could do that?
Well, it kind of came from, as a kid, my dad had a record store and like a vintage toy shop. So I would hang out there a lot. And when he was busy, he'd just take a stack of like movies on VHS and he'd give them to me. And he'd say, here, kid, knock yourself out. And I'd watch all these movies and not know what any of them were about. And I saw stuff like the 1986 animated Transformers movie. I watched Friday the 13th Part 7 on a bootleg tape. I watched From Beyond. I watched Gremlins. I watched some really weird Japanese action movies, a lot of kung fu movies from the 70s. I just grew up on all these movies on video cassette. And when I got a little bit older, like I'm talking maybe like 8 years old, my dad gave me a camcorder and I just started shooting home movies. And then I got to middle school, and that's when a lot of like what I had grown up on, like movies on VHS, straight to video horror films, a lot of that stuff, influenced my work, especially films from the 1980s. Like Breakfast Club, and basically everything from pre-1996, which is when I was born, is an influence on me.
That's great. Like, I love the 80s, and I sort of grew up in the 80s. Just your passion really comes out in your stuff, and it's great. I love when somebody's so young and just loving the 80s, and it's great for us old guys.
Well, thank you very much.
So you're basically like raised on these sort of like 80s horror classics, really?
Yes.
Before Burn in Hell, did you dabble in shorts, or what made you do like a feature length? Because that's something like you sort of people strive for a little bit later once. But I actually really like the idea of doing the feature length. Like I like going bigger. Go big or go home, right?
Well, in middle school, I'd made a lot of short films, and at some point, probably when I graduated from 8th grade and was going into freshman year in high school, I thought to myself, I got to do another short film, or I got to do another movie, because I know after high school this is what I'm going to keep doing, making movies. So I got together a couple friends that I'd met freshman year, and we started shooting a short film. We didn't have a title for it, and it was just this little plot we threw together about like hell and like this little crazy plot, and we started shooting that, and it went on for a while, and then Ming from Comic Book Men joined on, and that's when everything kind of took off, because then it's like, okay, let's make something a little bit longer. Let's strive for a little bit longer. And finally, we get to now where there is like hours and hours of footage, and the rough cut of the movie right now is an hour and 40 minutes long.
Are you kind of like writing as you go, or?
Yeah. When I had the idea in the beginning, I did like write a little outline, sort of how it would go as a short film, because it was going to be like a little fake trailer.
Yeah.
So a lot of those scenes that were originally intended for the short film are still in the movie. They're just spaced out a lot.
That's great.
We'd film it on the fly, and a lot of it really got like backtracked by like weather and actor commitment and this and that, and it's probably the only film I've ever worked on that's encountered every single problem you can encounter on a film shoot.
But you know, you sort of learn from those.
Yeah.
Like what not to do and what to improve on the next time.
Like for example, this weekend, I'm shooting with two friends of mine. The three of us are co-directing a short film that's an homage to, like, you know, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, St. Elmo's Fire, like all those sort of, you know, teen-related movies, Brat Pack movies, and we're doing it as it's set on the last day of graduation for a group of high school students. So we're shooting that this weekend, and preparing for that and production for that has actually been really smooth, because, you know, from everything I've learned from making Burn in Hell has helped on this. And these two guys that I'm working with, they're totally organized. They're like on top of their game, and they've really helped me step up as well. And the three of us just work really well together, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's great, like finding like-minded individuals. Obviously, at like your age, you've mentioned this before, just finding those dedicated people to you know, sort of stick around. It's, you know, it's like always a battle. I'm glad you sort of, you know, a couple people are a lot better than, like, you know, 100 flakes.
Yeah, the three of us are like a hive mind at this point, where, you know, like Voltron, like we form a giant robot sometimes, on occasion.
So what's like the plans for Burn in Hell once it's completed?
Yeah, there's 4 shooting days left to go on that, and probably the major plan for it is that once I finish editing, I'm going to get it screened, and, you know, we'll have a premiere, and then I'm going to try to get a couple more screenings. And in July, there's a deadline. I had been invited to a film festival to, like, submit Burn in Hell. They're called the Ferretum International Film Festival, and they're located in, like, Mexico. They show independent horror and sci-fi movies from all around the world. So when their program coordinator messaged me on Facebook, I was like, wait, what? Like, what? You want to take my cheesy backyard movie and show it at a festival? My mind was, like, blown, man.
I look forward to checking out the flick. This podcast is for, you know, to highlight people making these no budget backyard indies. Your backyard being like the Red Bank, pretty much the Red Bank area.
Yes.
And do you still see yourself sort of, you know, doing these when you're my age?
Yeah, I definitely see myself just making movies in the future, especially with the two guys I'm working with right now, since the three of us just have, like, we've had the conversation from time to time again. Now, both of them are graduating this year. I'm a junior, so they're seniors, but they've told me, like, even though they're graduating, we're going to continue working on stuff. We're going to continue putting stuff out there, because filmmaking's just in our blood, man. I couldn't imagine doing anything else other than making a movie right now.
That's the attitude that I really admire from somebody like your age. I hate to bring that up all the time, but it has nothing to do with age, really.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, there is people that want to get into this, you know, they just want to be big, and they want to, you know, and like have fancy cars and that stuff. If you can say that you know, do this, you'll do this no matter what. That's just really great. There needs to be more Joshua Booses out there.
Well, thank you. quite flattered by that comment. It's interesting though, because as you're saying about backyard filmmaking, these two guys, now the three of us formed this company. We're called GBG Film Initiative.
Okay.
And that's our little, like, whenever we credit ourselves as directors, we credit ourselves under that. Or in this case, it's going to be GBG Film Initiative, and then you're going to see underneath it says Joshua Bruce, and then the other two dudes' names, which are Justin Gigerich and Adam Goldsmith.
Awesome.
But as I've noticed working on it, just with them on films, there's a lot you can actually, like, you can stretch your budget so far. Like, these two guys, working with them on this short film, they took what could have been like $100 putting into a film and downsized that to $10. We're spending $10 on a 30-minute short film.
That's great.
Which I'm blown away by that, just by like the fact that Burn in Hell took like $500, $600 to shoot. This is taking like not even a quarter of that, and this is 30 minutes.
That's great. See, that's the kind of the mentality of shooting movies, even in the thousands. Sure, if you have the money. So like if you can make these movies for like $500, like, and like you were saying, like $10 for a 30-minute short.
Yeah.
I think the collective idea is great too.
Yeah. Just
throwing it out there. But you have three members of the team, right? You could have three projects going at the same time. Each one of you as like kind of like in TV they call it a showrunner. You on one project, one on another, and you release these films like almost yearly, or like one feature a year, or one or two for a year, and just build from that. And just snowball that into a great audience.
Yeah, it's like you and your brother Dan. Like, you guys are this you're like this duo of just independent filmmaking, and I've seen a little bit of your stuff. I saw the was it Massacre Camp or Blood Camp? What was that called?
Oh, that's something that we just put up recently. It's just a little scene, kind of like a movie within a movie. It's actually, yeah, it's called Massacre on the Lake Part 4.
That was great.
We actually shot that a while ago. We just finally put it all together.
Dude, I was impressed because it's like Bad Cop, Worst Cop is so close to like going viral right now. Like, you guys really stacked up views on that thing. I know that I had put it on the Burn in Hell page, but I didn't have that many followers then. I think I had, when you guys put that out, it was maybe like 600 followers. Right now, the Burn in Hell page is like at 1,800 followers.
That's great. I mean, I just interviewed a good buddy of mine, and he's all about building these kind of small audiences of rabid fans. And I think you're really on the way. And especially with this like collective idea going, not saying you have to or anything, but like if you keep it like sort of similar styles, you can kind of build this nice army.
Yes.
And if you can get like 1,000 people, you can make a really, really nice living with that. Just kind of like build from there, snowball from there. You had 1,800 likes on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Was there like one day where all of a sudden you had like 900 likes?
Well, I have a producer out in Virginia named Jason Delgado, and when I started working with him, he helped me put together a lot of the merch that we now have for Burn in Hell. Like, if you've seen the beanies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. It's really good stuff,
yeah.
actually.
He helped us get the guy who makes the beanies for us, and he also he promoted the film's Facebook page to almost like every single site he possibly could. Like, I think it's going to be on Ain't It Cool News soon.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He got on Dread Central and like all these comic book sites and all these other horror sites, like European horror sites. Some of our followers now are from like France and Germany.
Awesome. Obviously having like Ming Chen and Mike Zapsik in your flick, do you think that helps a little bit with because they have a pretty decent audiences from the show? Actually, how did that come about? Like, how did you get them?
Very simply, I just asked. Ming was the first one I invited to be a part of this film because, I'd been saying to Ming, hey, I want to use you in a movie sometime, and he's like, okay. And then finally I'm like, I'm making this movie called Burn in Hell. You want to play a priest? And he's like, sure. And at first, his priest character didn't really have much to do, and then I'm like, wait, Ming, you can do yoga, yeah? Let's have you do like a crazy 80s style training montage, and you can do headstands at one point.
That's great. He's a bit of a ham, so you stick a camera in front of him, and he's all good.
Yeah, he really hammed it up. And then Mike, I got to second, and I talked to Mike about it. I'm like, hey, do you want to play this role? It's kind of based off of Tom Atkins, and he was like, okay. And I told him, like, in comparison to Ming, I want you to play this completely straight.
Yeah.
Which he did really well. So Ming is sort of like the goofy parts of the movie, and then when Mike Zapsik's in a scene, it's very, very serious.
That's great.
The movie, I've noticed, editing it so far, tends to jump genres a lot. Like, it'll be a religious horror movie at one point, it'll be a screwball comedy the next scene, it'll be a really serious detective mystery, and it somehow is able to transition through that pretty well. Like, from editing it, it still flows. Yeah. It never really slows down. I hope you enjoy my bizarre little movie, because I think it's really odd. I think my acting in it is terrible.
Actually, yeah, talk about that a bit. You're not the main character, but it's more of an ensemble movie.
It's more of an ensemble movie.
Yeah.
It's much more of an ensemble movie. I'd say if I was put in there, I'd say maybe I'm like fourth lead. I'm fourth lead behind like my dad and two other guys. Yeah, I like sticking behind the camera a lot more than being in front of it, because being in front of it is where I have to throw myself onto sheets of gravel and do all my own stunts, and it's painful.
Yeah, but that's a great thing about like for your own movies, being in your own movies, is sometimes you're like the only one who would actually like do something. Like I find that with Dan.
I'm the only one willing enough to like jump from one moving vehicle to another, which I haven't done yet.
I would green screen that one, maybe.
Yeah, not such a great idea. I'd rather have someone else do that for me.
Yeah. What would you say to people your age, or just people starting out in this crazy adventure in backyard filmmaking? What would you say to them? What's some advice?
I'd say to the people that are just getting into this, that are my age, that aside from being a teenager, being a filmmaker is pretty tough. And you got to be fully committed, and you got to be willing to make a lot of sacrifices of time. And you also have to learn how to balance out your schedule, because you still want to have a social life. You're still a teenager. You're still a kid. You still want to go out and hang out with friends. So it gets really tough being able to balance that. But eventually you kind of find the right way to do it. Like myself, at first it was really tough to balance social life and filmmaking, and then I figured, okay, like I can dedicate weekends to filming, and then after school I can just hang out with friends. But another thing is, for just filmmakers in general who are getting into this, you are a filmmaker when you pick up that camera and start shooting a movie. So never let anyone tell you otherwise, because I've had a lot of people say, you're not a filmmaker yet, you haven't done anything. It's like, when you pick up that camera and you record, a scene, you are now a filmmaker. You may not be a great filmmaker. You're going to make 10 bad movies in your life before you make a good one. So you always got to remember, you are a filmmaker, and you got to keep that in mind when you're making a movie. A lot of people aren't filmmakers anymore. They're businessmen when they do this, and that's something that really bothers me a lot too, is that a lot of the heart that usually goes into filmmaking is being lost, and that's why I like low-budget independent filmmaking so much. It's because there are a lot of these filmmakers out there that really do have the heart and the commitment to go out and make these movies.
Yeah, I couldn't really say that any better. I remember, especially at your age, when I started dabbling in this stuff, I was always like, all right, am I a filmmaker? Should I go make a business card? really, like everybody, like if you're, like you're saying, like if you're telling stories with a camera and you're putting the stories together, editing it together, you're a filmmaker. This is like the medium you choose. This has been great. Really hope this recorded, because this is a great little interview. Thanks a lot, man. I'll let you go and have a good one. Keep rocking.
Will do. You keep rocking too.
See you later.
Tell Dan I say hi.
I will. Thanks for listening with my interview with Joshua Bruce. I really appreciate it. Before you leave, make sure to sign up to the Facebook launch group at francisbrothersfilms.com/group. I forgot to ask Josh where he could be found online. You can find him. You can find his Burn in Hell Facebook page if you just search Burn in Hell, or also Blood Flood Productions on Facebook, and then also on Twitter at BFP Filmmaker, at BFP Filmmaker. Follow Josh's stuff. It's radical stuff. And make sure to check out francisbrothersfilms.com/group, and that will send you to the Facebook page I have set up for my awesome champion first listeners. So thanks again. Thanks for listening
to the Adventures in Backyard Filmmaking podcast.